Hey beautiful, have you considered subscribing to our channel? Help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers.
The wind moaned through the fractured skeleton of the crashed vessel, carrying with it the burnt metal stench of ruined circuitry and something fouler, like wet fur and singed flesh. Jonas Virek pulled his rebreather tighter around his face, his boots crunching over splintered alloys and charred foliage as he pushed deeper into the wreckage. The signal beacon had brought him here. Standard X-Carth distress ping, weak and old. He'd almost skipped it, chalking it up to another junked ghost ship buried in the wilds. But curiosity got the better of him. It usually did. He stepped into what looked like a ruined cargo bay, half its walls peeled open like a sardine can, revealing a sloped crater where the ship had skidded into the forest. Red-leafed branches had already begun reclaiming the area, growing over twisted steel with eerie determination. Jonas paused, scanning the area with his helmet's spectral imaging. No movement, no heat, just the slow decay of a years-old crash. Still, something wasn't right. He felt it in the hairs rising on the back of his neck. Then a sound. A low, wet snarl, barely audible under the breeze. He froze. It came again, more drawn out this time. Not the clatter of metal or a groaning ship panel, but a living thing. Pain, anger, maybe both. Jonas stepped carefully around a bulkhead torn in two. Beyond it, tangled in a mesh of emergency harnesses and crushed crates, was a shape. Small compared to the vessel, but massive by Earth standards. He blinked. Something alive, curled in a protective hunch, its skin scaled and iridescent, like oil slicks shifting in the dark. Its claws were talon-sharp, hooked into the floor plating. One wing, if that's what it was, twitched, revealing a gash that oozed dark green ichor. It looked up. Two eyes locked onto him. Luminous glassy orbs with vertical slits, intelligent and frightened. A mouth filled with needle-like teeth, pulled back in a hiss that vibrated the air. Jonas held up both hands, slowly kneeling. Easy. I'm not here to hurt you. The creature snarled again but didn't move. Its chest rose and fell rapidly. Too fast for a predator its size, wounded, dying maybe. He glanced around. Corpses littered the ship. Humanoid X-Carth bodies, burned or crushed in the crash. No survivors. This one, this thing, had been locked in some kind of reinforced container. A cage? No, a habitat. He could see feeding mechanisms, environmental controls. This wasn't livestock. It was precious cargo. Jonas tapped into his comm unit. Virek to base, found downed X-Carth vessel, no survivors, possible sentient life form, injured, requesting medical scan relay. Silence. He cursed. Signal too weak out here. He'd have to call it in later, after retreating to higher ground. But leaving the creature now didn't feel right. It didn't blink, just stared at him with those unnerving eyes. Jonas reached into his side pouch, pulled out a nutrient bar and peeled it slowly, placing it on the ground between them. He backed away. The creature didn't move. He tried again, speaking softly. You hungry? You're not going to make it alone out here. If you wanted to kill me, you would have already. Still nothing. But then, after a long moment, the creature shifted. It moved like a predator, smooth, deliberate, but its limbs trembled. It crawled forward, sniffed the bar, and devoured it in 2 bites. Then it looked at him again. Jonas nodded slowly. Okay then, let's get you out of here. Transporting it back wasn't easy. It wouldn't let him touch it, so he fashioned a makeshift sled from debris and coaxed it onto the platform with more food. The trip back to his outpost, 2 hours by terrain vehicle, was tense. It never slept, never stopped watching him. But it didn't attack either. Back at the compound, Jonas set up a containment field in his workshop, not to trap it, but to protect it from bacteria, from the chill, from whatever else Earth might throw at it. He tended to the wounds, cleaning the gash and sealing it with a megal compound. It howled once, an unholy keening sound that made his teeth ache. But it didn't bite, didn't flee. He started calling it scree, after the sound it made while pacing restlessly at night. Short, sharp bursts of vocalization. It never spoke, not at first, but it listened, observed. It learned how doors worked. It watched him cook and started imitating his movements, poorly at first, then with disturbing accuracy. After a week, Scree began responding to her name. After a month, she began protecting the homestead, hissing at drones that flew too close, chasing off wild scavengers. Jonas upgraded the containment field into an open enclosure, letting her roam during the day. She always returned. Always. He'd started recording her behaviors, uploading fragments to the colony database under a classified tag. Not many humans had interacted with Excarth fauna, much less raised one. But this was something else. He was beginning to suspect she wasn't just a predator. Her intelligence rivaled that of a human child, maybe more. She could understand concepts, remember patterns. She even started drawing with her claws in the dirt, symbols, repeating ones. One day, Jonas paused mid-task as Scree drew a crescent overlaid with 3 dots in a triangle. He blinked. He'd seen that before, in the wreckage. It had been etched onto a piece of shattered armor, a sigil of some kind. "Where did you learn that?" he asked quietly. Scree tilted her head, eyes glinting. "Mother," she said. Jonas staggered back. He hadn't installed a translator, not yet. That word, it was unmistakable, clear, intentional. He stared at her. "Say that again." She didn't. She just looked at him, then lowered her head, curling into a tight ball. The silence that followed was heavy with implication. He didn't sleep that night, combing through every record of Excarth iconography he could find. The crescent symbol, it wasn't just a military crest, it was a royal emblem. Scree wasn't just a pet or experiment. She was something else, something important. The next morning, he tried to contact the colony's xeno-diplomatic office. The signal was jammed. Then, from the edge of his land, sensors tripped. He ran outside. In the far distance, silhouetted against the twin suns, a dark shape hovered in the sky, sleek, silent, not human. It vanished within seconds. Jonas looked down to find Scree at his side, eyes locked on the horizon, body tense and low. She growled, low, angry, and without looking up said one word: danger. He placed a hand on her head, heart pounding. "Yeah," he whispered. "I think so too." And for the first time he realized that saving her had consequences. That the decision made in a broken ship, in the cold quiet of a forgotten forest, was about to change everything. Scree grew faster than Jonas anticipated. What began as a gangly, half-starved cub now moved with the mass and grace of a big cat, coiled muscle under shifting scale. Her tail swept the ground like a weighted whip, and her claws could shear through steel siding if she lost patience. Yet despite her formidable size, she remained tethered to Jonas's side, her movements deliberate when around him, careful in a way predators usually weren't. Jonas had reconfigured the outer perimeter of the homestead into a semi-wild enclosure, modifying old defense fields to allow Scree room to roam while keeping local wildlife and nosy neighbors out. Cameras mounted at regular intervals captured hours of footage, though few would believe what they recorded. A non-human life form exhibiting structured behavior, language learning, tool usage, even empathy. She was more than a pet, more than a rescued alien cub. Scree was becoming someone. Jonas kept his days methodical. Workshops, repair contracts, scanning for salvage. But every day Scree inserted herself into the routine. She mimicked his tasks, sometimes clumsily, dragging cables or trying to fit bolts into sockets with oversized claws. The translator collar he was building was still weeks from being viable, but her comprehension had outpaced his expectations. She understood commands, context, even sarcasm, which unsettled him more than it should have. Still, the colony wasn't blind forever. One afternoon, while Jonas was out welding a new power regulator onto the east relay, a small transport landed, half a click from his compound. Civilian issue, low altitude, short range. But its markings were unmistakable. Colonial security. He got there just in time to see Scree standing between the patrol officers and the workshop, her shoulders hunched, teeth bared. The officers, two men in dull gray uniforms, had their hands on sidearms but hadn't drawn. "Easy now," Jonas said, stepping in. "She's protective, not aggressive unless provoked." One of the men, a squat fellow with heat rash on his cheeks, squinted at Jonas. "We received reports about something dangerous prowling these woods. Crops raided, livestock gone. Witnesses saw a thing, reptilian, large." Jonas shrugged. "We've got wild fauna out here. Probably a displaced burrow cat or hill strider." "Funny," said the taller officer. "Witness described it walking upright. Said it watched them." He turned toward Scree, who'd fallen silent but hadn't moved. Her eyes flicked between them, calculating. "She's mine," Jonas said. "Found her injured during a salvage run. Been rehabilitating her." "You domesticated a Death World species?" The squat officer snorted. "Domesticated's a stretch," Jonas replied. "We coexist." The two men exchanged a look. "She's not registered in the xenofaunal catalog. Because the Excarth don't exactly share their pets." That earned a raised brow. "You're telling me this thing is Excarth property?" "I'm telling you," Jonas said slowly, "that if she were a threat, you'd already be dead." That ended the conversation. They left, warning him to file proper registration and alert the colony of any changes in behavior. As their ship took off, Scree growled. Jonas didn't correct her. That night, the translator collar came online for the first time. It was crude, built from salvaged Excarth tech and a modified human AI core, but it worked. Basic syntax, emotion speech, filtering. He fastened it around Scree's neck, locking the magnetic clasp gently beneath her chin. She stared at him with something resembling amusement. "Try saying something," Jonas said. Static hissed, then a glitchy voice. "You smell like hot rock." He laughed, shaking his head. "Accurate." Scree tapped the collar. "Strange buzz. Words inside. Helps me understand you." She blinked slowly. "You not understand before?" "Not like this." She tilted her head. "I always understand you." He swallowed at that. She meant it. In the days that followed, their communication deepened. Scree had limited vocabulary, but used it wisely. She asked questions about the stars, about the crash, about the others who came in her dreams, large figures in regal armor with crest-shaped helms and glowing eyes. She called one mother, though the word lacked weight. It was more concept than person. Jonas showed her pictures from the colonial net, hoping to trigger recognition, and one day, while browsing a database of diplomatic emblems, she froze. There, emblazoned in silver over a blue banner, was the same sigil she'd scratched into the ground weeks ago, crescent moon, three-point crown. "Home," she said. Jonas leaned forward. "You remember it?" "Place with many rules, cold walls, loud thoughts." She held me. "Who held you?" Scree touched her chest, claws gliding over the metal of the collar. "Empress." The word struck like thunder in his gut. He tried to parse it logically. Excarth hierarchy was strict, almost fanatically so. Royal bloodlines weren't just status, they were sacred. For Scree to be connected to royalty, even as a pet or genetic project, made her dangerously valuable, or expendable if she had been lost and declared a failure. He ran simulations, models, patterns, the crash site's trajectory, the sabotage potential. It began to make sense. If someone had wanted to hide her, they'd down a ship in wild space and erase the logs. But if they'd wanted her dead, they wouldn't have sent care modules, nutrients, a controlled environment. She'd been protected until she wasn't. One morning, the warning system tripped again. Jonas rushed to the console, expecting wildlife or maybe another patrol. Instead, the screen showed a dark orb hanging in the sky, miles up but stationary. Not a ship, a probe. He scrambled the frequencies, trying to intercept the signal. No dice. It was locked to an alien channel, encrypted in a layered frequency Jonas couldn't break. But it was watching. Scree appeared beside him, silent. "Friend of yours?" he muttered. "No, old ones. Hunt smell." He looked at her. "They're coming for you, aren't they?" She didn't answer. But she didn't need to. That evening, she didn't eat. Just sat beneath the edge of the dome, watching the stars, her tail curling and uncurling slowly. Jonas joined her, his rifle resting. Across his knees. "They'll send someone," he said. "Not colonials, real retrieval teams. If they find you, they kill. Or take you. Kill you." Jonas didn't argue. He'd known that since the first moment she said mother. She wasn't just someone's pet. She was a symbol. Maybe even a threat to someone's claim to power. Scree looked at him then, pupils wide, mouth flat. "You gave me name." "Scree, yeah. I remember. Not born name. What was your born name?" "I don't know. I don't want it." Jonas looked away. "We might not have a choice." Scree leaned her head against his shoulder, warm and heavy. "I choose." He didn't sleep that night. He worked instead, fortifying the signal dampeners, calibrating the defense turrets, preparing fail-safes he thought he'd never use. He was good at building walls, but this time he knew they wouldn't be enough. Next morning, Scree stood at the edge of the clearing, eyes fixed on the sky. "They are closer." Jonas looked up and saw nothing. But he believed her. Scree stepped closer to him. Her voice crackled through the collar. "You saved me." He nodded. "You saved yourself. I just gave you a chance." She turned her head. "I will not go. Not without fight." He put a hand on her shoulder. "Then we fight." The sky remained quiet for now, but the silence had weight. In the distance, just past the horizon, something shimmered, barely visible in the rising dawn. They were coming. Jonas didn't hear the ship arrive. One moment, the sky was clear. The next, a black crescent hung silently above the forest canopy, gleaming like obsidian against the morning haze. It hadn't come from orbit. It had slipped in, invisible to radar, unannounced by sonic boom. No signal, no diplomatic ping, just presence. Sudden, oppressive. Scree stiffened before Jonas even saw it. She growled low in her throat, a guttural vibration that buzzed through the air like a broken harmonics panel. "They found you," Jonas said, already moving. He keyed the external sensor array, and the monitor confirmed it. X-Karth ship class. Designation unknown, non-colonial transponder, no weapon systems hot, but that meant nothing. He'd seen X-Karth strike cruisers destroy a rebel fleet with barely a flicker of energy output. A single shuttle detached from the vessel, descending in an elegant arc toward the tree line. Scree backed away from the window, claws curling into the floor. Jonas turned to her. "You still have time. Back tunnel leads into the ravine. You can disappear. I'll stall them." She didn't move. "They see me. Through sky eyes." He swallowed hard. "Then we hide you. There's still a chance." "No," she interrupted. "If I run, they chase. If I stay, I choose." There was that word again. Choose. As if the concept held more power for her than survival itself. Jonas didn't understand it, but he respected it. The shuttle landed without sound. Its doors opened, revealing a single figure, a tall being encased in segmented armor that shimmered like polished bone. The helmet was smooth, no faceplate, no visor, only the etched symbol of the crescent and three-pointed crown. Jonas stepped outside alone. The armored figure approached, hands empty, posture measured. No weapons drawn, but this one didn't need weapons. Everything about its presence screamed authority. "You are Jonas Virek," it said, its voice synthetic but resonant. "Caretaker of the lost one." "Depends who's asking," Jonas replied, keeping his stance casual. "You here for salvage or something else?" The figure's helmet tilted. "We are here for what belongs to us." Jonas narrowed his eyes. "She doesn't belong to anyone." "You are mistaken. She is of the bloodline, the Empress's bond beast, bred by right, chosen by ancestry, lost in conspiracy. Her return is mandated." Jonas said nothing. "Your care is noted," the figure continued. "You will not be punished, but your role is complete. Step aside." "She won't go with you. She does not choose." Jonas raised his chin. "She does now." For a moment, nothing moved. Then the ex-Karth envoy extended a hand toward the homestead. "She has called us. The royal bond cannot be severed." Jonas blinked. "She called you?" Her signal activated when she accepted identity. Blood echoes to blood. So it hadn't been a probe. It had been her, unconsciously transmitting the moment she remembered. The envoy stepped forward. "You interfere with sovereign property. That is an act of aggression." Behind him, Scree emerged from the shadows of the workshop. She moved like liquid metal, silent and deadly, but her eyes were calm. The envoy turned. Scree stopped 2 paces away and met its gaze. "I am Scree," she said, the translator collar echoing her words. "You are a Raket," the envoy replied. "You were, named under Star Oath." "I am Scree," she repeated. "I am not yours." "You are Empress bonded." She let me fall. Silence fell like ice. The envoy's voice lowered. "You were hidden for protection. There was betrayal. Your transport was sabotaged. The Empress mourned. We searched." Scree's claws twitched. "Too late. We are here now. Come, be restored." Scree stepped closer to Jonas instead. The envoy stiffened. "You disgrace your station." Jonas's hand hovered near his sidearm. "She's not going anywhere against her will." The envoy turned its helmet toward him. "You are irrelevant." But as it moved, Scree launched. It was not a mindless attack. It was tactical, precise. She struck at the exposed joints of the envoy's armor, claws flaring, jaws snapping with surgical fury. The envoy reeled, taken by surprise, staggering back. Jonas dove behind the support pillar as the air shimmered, cloaked guards materializing all around the clearing. He'd expected it. Ex-Karth didn't send emissaries without backup. The moment Scree attacked, they activated their fail-safes. The first 2 lunged forward, stun spears crackling. Jonas fired, twice, clean shots. One went down, convulsing. The other missed its step and collided with Scree mid-lunge. She twisted, using its momentum to slam it into the ground, but they kept coming. He didn't have enough ammo. Scree was fast, but not invincible. They needed an edge. He ducked into the workshop, grabbed the emergency override detonator he'd wired years ago into the perimeter generators. With a flick of the switch, the dampener field surged. The clearing exploded, with static. The air shimmered. Ex-Karth tech wasn't designed for Earth's magnetic pulse variability. Jonas watched as 3 cloaked warriors staggered, their suits flickering. Scree roared, an ancient primal sound that made Jonas's teeth vibrate. She tore through the momentarily disoriented guards with terrifying grace. The envoy recovered, stepping back, calling in the ship. Jonas saw it, above, in the clouds. The black crescent began to glow at its base. They were escalating. "Scree!" he shouted. She was already moving, bounding across the field toward the envoy, who now stood beneath the shuttle's magnetic tether. She reached it before it could be lifted away. With a powerful leap, she tackled the envoy into the shuttle's cargo bay. The ship hesitated. Jonas ran forward, breath ragged. "Scree!" He skidded to a stop just as the shuttle's engines pulsed. Then silence. The shuttle powered. Down. The ramp hissed open, and Scree stepped out, alone. Her scales were bloodied. A burn across one shoulder smoked faintly, but her eyes, those deep, intelligent eyes, were clear. She dropped something at Jonas's feet. The envoy's helm split. Down the center, Jonas stared. "Are you all right?" She nodded. "They do not speak for Empress. This was test, or trap. I passed." He looked down at the helm. "You could have died." "I had to know." He shook his head. "So what now?" "More of them will come." "Yes," she said. "But not yet. They will watch first. Decide." Jonas exhaled. "Then we prepare." Scree stepped beside him. "You still choose me?" "Every time." And though the smoke still clung to the treetops and the sky was far too quiet, for the first time in days, the air didn't feel heavy. They had survived the first wave. The future was uncertain, but Scree had chosen her name, and Jonas had chosen her. 3 weeks passed without another ship in the sky. No more shimmering outlines in the tree line, no coded signals haunting the bandwidth. Just silence. But Jonas knew it wasn't over. Not yet. Scree had changed. The aftermath of the envoy's defeat didn't leave her bruised. It left her focused. She trained now. Every morning before the sun crested the horizon, she moved through the clearing with lethal grace, muscle honed by instinct and purpose. Her claws weren't just weapons. They were an extension of will. Jonas watched her build patterns into her movement. Evasive turns, faint strikes, strategic holds. She wasn't a beast preparing to defend herself. She was a warrior preparing to lead. And she was speaking more. The Caller's vocabulary module had doubled its lexicon thanks to her relentless questioning. She learned by dissecting everything: language, technology, strategy. Sometimes Jonas felt like the student, not the teacher. "You think they send more?" she asked one morning, perched atop the comm tower, tail dangling, eyes watching clouds. Jonas sipped his coffee. "If I were them, I'd wait, see if you revert, see if I crack." "I won't," she said. He believed her. That night, the dream came again. He stood in a wide throne room, silent and cold. The walls rose like mountains, adorned with banners bearing that same sigil, the crescent and crown. At the far end stood the Empress, her eyes glowing with a regal fire that burned straight through him. But the one kneeling before her wasn't Scree. It was a larger version, adorned in ceremonial armor made from bone and metal, her voice a chorus when she spoke. "I return, but not as yours." Jonas awoke to static on the sensors. The Black Crescent ship had returned. But this time, it did not descend. It hovered high above, out of range, and then, without a sound, dispersed into dozens of smaller vessels, like seeds scattered by the wind. Jonas and Scree stood at the edge of the forest, watching as faint contrails disappeared across the sky. "They're not here to talk this time," Jonas muttered. "No," she said. "They come to break." At first it was subtle. Satellite relays went dark. Drone networks collapsed. Supply lines between frontier colonies flickered offline. Not outright attacks, surgical strikes. Quiet destabilization. Someone high up in the Excarth hierarchy didn't just want Scree recovered. They wanted her erased without martyrdom. No public conflict, no imperial scandal. Jonas wasn't a diplomat or a soldier, But he had been a scavenger long enough to know how to fight with scraps. He turned the workshop into a war room, retrofitted defense turrets with stealth-piercing rounds, built drone relays using scavenged parts and buried nodes deep beneath the soil. He made it costly for them to send another envoy. He made it personal, and Scree prepared too, mentally, physically, spiritually. She spoke often now of legacy, of what her survival meant not just to herself but to something larger. "I was born property," she said one night, sharpening her claws on a carbon whetstone. "Raised to serve a throne, but the throne did not bleed for me." Jonas looked up from his datapad. "So you make your own." "I don't want throne. I want choice. But choice, like sovereignty, required force. The next attack proved it. A three-pronged strike came just before midnight. 2 ships and a ground force. Their strategy was precision, not brute power. Disrupt, isolate, extract. Scree was the target. Jonas was expendable. But they miscalculated. Jonas triggered the fail-safe field seconds before the ships reached the outer dome. The magnetic pulse fried their approach vectors, forcing a premature landing. Scree was waiting for them. It wasn't a fight. It was a reckoning. She moved through the darkness like a myth given shape, her body a blur of speed and muscle. The first squad barely got out of the ship. The second tried to circle through the tree line and ran into the mines Jonas had buried 2 years ago, back when he was just paranoid and bored. Jonas took out 2 pilots scrambling for cover, then turned, to find Scree pinned beneath a collapsed segment of the western tower. She snarled, not in pain, but frustration. Trapped, not broken. He rushed over, pried at the debris. "Don't move! I've got you!" "They know now," she gasped. "They saw what I am." He nodded. "Let them look." Together, they lifted the beam. Scree rose to her feet, bleeding but standing tall. The remaining ex-Karth forces fell back, signaling a retreat. Jonas knew what that meant. "We bought time," he said. "They bring fleet next." And so they did. 5 days later, the fleet arrived, not in orbit, but in public. A transmission went out across every channel, across human and alien colonies alike. A face appeared. Not armored, not masked. The Empress herself. Her eyes were stars trapped in flesh. Her voice a song laced with iron. A mistake was made. A creature was lost. It was found by kind hands, grown beyond its station. We ask not for surrender, we ask for truth. The feed shifted. Scree stood before a makeshift camera, scarred and steady. "I am Scree," she said. "I was born a Hrakket, but I name myself." A long pause. "I do not reject my origin. I reject the lie that I was ever less than sentient. You bred me for war. I chose life. You raised me to serve. I chose freedom." The Empress said nothing. Scree stepped forward into the light. "If I must fight again, I will. But let it be known, if you erase me, the whole galaxy will know what I was, and what you feared I would become, the feed cut." Jonas exhaled. There was no battle the next day, no invasion, no assassins in the dark. Instead, the fleet vanished. Scree stood on the ridge above the workshop, watching the last glimmer of the crescent ships disappear into upper atmosphere. "They left," Jonas said, stepping beside her. "For now," she answered. "You think they'll be back?" She didn't answer at first. Then, "When they are ready to listen." He nodded. "And until then?" She looked at him. "We build something they can't erase." Jonas smiled. "What? A throne?" She growled softly, but it sounded like laughter. "No, a future." The wind shifted, the stars came out, and beneath them, a girl not quite human and a man with more scars than luck stood together on the edge of a world that once called itself a death world. But tonight, it was simply home.